Attention passionate Seattle, SEAHAWKS fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC West and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Seattle Seahawks' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Seattle Seahawks fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Seattle SEAHAWKS fans. Let's get to the news now. When you think about the Seahawks' recent offseason moves and the way they're reshaping their roster, one thing is clear. The team is really trying to adapt and stay competitive in a league that's constantly evolving. But the latest developments, especially regarding their wide receiver core, have turned some heads. It's not every day that a team releases a player like Marquez Valdes-Scantling just before the season starts, especially after bringing him in with such high hopes. So, what exactly happened? Why did the Seahawks decide to part ways with a guy who, just a few months ago, seemed to be part of their grand plan to bolster the offense? To understand this, you have to look at the context of the team's recent roster decisions. The Seahawks have been busy restructuring their receiving core following the trades and releases of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Those were big moves, no doubt. But the team's strategy was to find new weapons, potentially younger or more versatile options to fill those gaps. Enter Marquez Valdes-Scantling, a player with a lot of potential, especially known for his deep threat ability. He's a guy who led the NFL in yards per reception back in 2020 with an impressive 20.9 yards per catch, which made him a fascinating target for the Seahawks' offensive brain trust. The plan, at least initially, was to see if Valdes-Scantling could provide that explosive element that complements players like Cooper Kupp, who's still a key piece at 32, and Jackson Smith-Njigba, a promising rookie out of Ohio State. The idea was that Valdes-Scantling, with his speed and deep ball skills, could stretch defenses and open up more space for Kupp and the rest of the offense. And during the second half of last season, when he was with the New Orleans Saints under offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, Valdes-Scantling showed flashes of that potential. That's why Seattle signed him, hoping he could replicate or even improve on that form. But as we all know, things don't always go as planned. And in this case, the plan started to shift pretty quickly. The Seahawks attempted to trade Valdes-Scantling, but no team stepped up. That's often a sign that the player might soon be on the chopping block, and in this case, it was no different. The other teams likely saw that Seattle was prepared to release him, which made trading him less appealing. So, instead of holding on and risking losing him for nothing, the Seahawks decided to cut him loose earlier this week. This marks the third time since February 2024 that Valdes-Scantling has been released, highlighting how uncertain his situation was. Now, it's important to point out that Valdes-Scantling initially entered camp as the number 3 receiver behind Kupp and Jackson Smith-Njigba. But as training camp went on, things started to change. Rookie Torrey Horton, a 5th-round pick out of Colorado State, began to outpace him and was regularly being put into the starting lineup in 3-receiver sets. Horton, despite being a rookie, showed a lot of promise, but he was also dealing with an ankle injury suffered against the Chiefs on August 15. That injury kept him out for a little while, and that's where Valdes-Scantling had a chance to get more reps with the starters again. But as Horton returned to practice, the Seahawks started to see that the rookie was a more appealing option moving forward. And here's where another factor comes into play: special teams. You see, in today's NFL, especially for wide receivers, contributing on special teams can make or break your roster spot. The Seahawks' top 3 receivers, Kupp, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Horton, are all expected to carry a significant load on coverage and return teams. Valdes-Scantling, however, is not known for his special teams contributions. That's a critical point because, in Seattle's scheme, versatility and special teams prowess are highly valued, especially for players further down the depth chart. The other 3 receivers kept on the roster, Jake Bobo, Derek Young, and Cody White, are all active contributors on special teams and are perceived as good run blockers too, which fits perfectly within Clint Kubiak's offensive scheme. This contrast highlights a key issue for Valdes-Scantling. Without the ability to contribute significantly on special teams, and with the rookie Horton making strides, the team saw little reason to keep him around. The Seahawks have always emphasized a balanced approach: offense, defense, and special teams working together. And if a player's skill set doesn't align with those priorities, it can be a quick ticket out, especially in a competitive training camp environment. Let's not forget the overall depth of the Seahawks. Receiving core was already a topic of discussion before Valdes-Scantling's release. The departure of Metcalf and Lockett left big gaps, and while Kupp is still a vital piece, he's also aging, at 32, and has struggled with injuries, not playing more than 12 games in a season since 2021. That brings additional pressure on the younger players to step up and fill the void. Horton, for all his promise, is still a rookie, and adjusting to the NFL's 17-game schedule will be a challenge for him, as well as the entire team. Looking at Valdes-Scantling's recent performances, it's clear that he was fighting for his spot. In the final preseason game, for example, he played 23 snaps after only participating in 10 snaps in the previous 2 games combined. Against the Packers, he caught 3 passes for 33 yards, which shows he was still capable of making plays. But ultimately, the Seahawks decided that the roster spot would be better utilized by players who can contribute on multiple fronts, including special teams, and who are more trusted in the scheme. Financially, Valdes-Scantling's contract was a 1-year deal worth nearly $4 million, which included a $1.5 million signing bonus and $1.5 million guaranteed. He had the potential to earn an additional $955, $0 through salary and roster bonuses. But with his release, the Seahawks are on the hook for a dead cap hit of $3 million and a $1.5 million bonus. Interestingly, since he's now a free agent, Seattle might get some of that salary back due to offset language in his contract if he signs with another team. That's standard procedure, but it also shows just how much roster management and salary cap considerations play a role in these decisions. Valdes-Scantling himself acknowledged that he had a slow start to camp, partly due to the adjustment to the West Coast lifestyle and the change in time zones. He's a native of St. Petersburg, Florida, and moving from the eastern part of the country to Seattle was a big change. He admitted that it took a little time to get used to the schedule, to sleep properly, and to get comfortable with the offense, even though he was familiar with Kubiak's system from his time in New Orleans. But he also expressed optimism, saying that he's now settled in, and he feels like he can be the player he wants to be. This move by the Seahawks signals a clear shift in their approach. They're prioritizing versatility, special teams contributions, and a younger, more dynamic receiver core. It's a tough break for Valdes-Scantling, who clearly has talent, but perhaps didn't fit the specific mold the team is now building. Still, it's a reminder of how competitive and cutthroat the NFL is. Every move, every decision is made with the long-term vision of the team in mind, and sometimes that means saying goodbye to talented players just as they're starting to find their rhythm. This whole situation also raises questions about the overall depth at receiver for the Seahawks. With Kupp's injury history, the uncertain future of Lockett, and now Valdes-Scantling gone, the team is relying heavily on their younger players and the development of rookies like Horton. The pressure is on, and everyone will be watching closely to see how these receivers step up in the regular season, especially in the crucial first few games where chemistry and consistency are key. In the end, it's a story of transition, of a team trying to find the right mix of players who can execute their scheme, contribute on special teams, and stay healthy through a demanding schedule. The Seahawks are clearly betting on the future, on their draft picks and young talent, but it also underscores the harsh reality of NFL roster management. Sometimes, even promising players get cut to make room for the next wave of talent. And for Valdes-Scantling, it's a new chapter, exploring opportunities elsewhere, perhaps in a system that better suits his skills. So, Seahawks fans, stay tuned because this is just the beginning. The roster adjustments are ongoing, and the season is right around the corner. The team's success will depend on how well these new pieces fit together, how quickly they can gel, and how they handle the inevitable injuries and challenges that come with a 17-game grind. The excitement is palpable, and I can tell you, there's a lot to watch for in the coming weeks. The Seahawks are not just rebuilding, they're reshaping, redefining their identity, and it's going to be fascinating to see how everything unfolds. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Seattle Seahawks news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And now, Seattle Seahawks fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Seahawks. Do you think the team made the right call releasing Valdes-Scantling? Are you confident in the depth of the receiver core with Horton, Bobo, Young, and White stepping up? Or do you think the team still needs to make more moves to strengthen their wide receiver group? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear them. This team is constantly evolving, and your voice is an important part of the conversation. Remember, I'll be back soon with more updates, more insights, and all the latest Seahawks news, so stay tuned. The season is just around the corner, and the excitement is building. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Seahawks.